Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hang tight. We'll get started in about 5 minutes.
That's what I said last year. Okay, well, let me
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ISLP International Scholar Laureate Program webinar. My name is Melissa McAlee, and I am the program manager for ISLP. I'm so excited to have you all join us this time, whether you're in Eastern time zone or all the way overseas. We're excited to have you. So thank you. So before we jump into the webinar, I'd like to cover a couple of housekeeping items. I will spend about 45 minutes covering the program overview, scholarships, typical day, and also I'll spend the rest of the 15 minutes with a Q&A for you guys. We're also using a webinar platform called GoToWebinar. That means you'll be able to hear me, but you all will be on mute. But that doesn't mean I don't want to hear from you. Please use the questions or chat box to send us questions. And I have two of my lovely colleagues behind the scenes working hard to get those answers for you. And then if there are any questions that we can't answer during this time, we'll be sure to reach out to you directly if it's more of a specific item, and then we'll make sure to communicate where we post the rest of those questions. All right, we'll jump right in. Like I mentioned earlier, we're covering the following topics. We're going to talk to you about how do you get access to all of your program information, how do you secure your webinar documents, how do you secure your travel documents, booking your transportation, and then what does it look like when you arrive in country. And then I'll help with some of the packing and travel tips and get you more acquainted with what does your time in country look like. Okay. So excited to have so many attendees. So thanks again for joining us, everyone. Then we'll also go into some site visit highlights and talk a little bit more about the cultural extensions. We'll finish up with some important reminders, even though we'll have reminders all throughout, because there's certainly a lot of deadlines to get through. And then we'll finish with some contact information, of course, some Q&A. So I'll pop in and off of the webcam throughout, so just so you know. All right, let's get started. How do you access all your program information? When you enrolled in the program, you receive your credentials to log into your student portal. And that's at myscholarlaureate.org. Then, once you log in, you'll see your student profile dashboard. At the top toolbar, there will be the enrollment forms and info. That's where you want to go. When you go to that link, you'll see the following page. So depending on the country that you are joining, you will have certain different forms to complete. So as you can see here for Australia, you'll definitely have a site experience selection form for the medicine program. And then for Australia and New Zealand, there will be some optional free time activities for you guys to register for. And then for China, there will be an extra form for you guys to fill out, the visa details entry form. And then also we provide guidelines for completing the Chinese visa application. We'll definitely get into that a little bit later, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like when you log in. Hopefully everyone has logged in because we already had a few important deadlines that have passed, but just in case you enrolled a little bit later, this is what it looks like. Next up, one really important part is securing your travel documents. Because we'll be international visitors, depending on where your home country is, there are certain guidelines for those who are visiting another country, and everyone needs to have a passport. Okay, and once you have your passport, you may or may not need a visa. So let's jump into kind of what some of that looks like. So for the passport, let's talk about passports. You want to secure a valid passport. So everyone should double check the expiration date on their passports to make sure that they are valid for at least 6 months after your travel date. Also, we need to know your passport and your visa details. So fill out the passport details entry form, and if you're going to China, fill out the visa details entry form. We use the passport information to do a lot of the booking for you. So having that information in accurate and on time is going to make sure that we can provide an excellent experience for you. So we need that to book our in-country flights. So if you're going from Melbourne to Sydney, Durban to Johannesburg to Durban, Beijing to Xi'an, and so on, you will need to have this information in. Okay, so make sure that you take a look at also the passport and visa guide. So we created one for pretty much every destination, and that's going to kind of give you more guidelines as to what you need. So read through it all. This webinar is definitely not a substitute for all of the important information that's located on the student portal. So make sure that you're checking in all of those things and that you understand it. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to call our Office of Admissions. Next up, we have a little bit more information. Just to note, we provide some details on U.S. citizens, but if you're not a U.S. citizen, please contact the consulate or embassy for your visa requirements. That's definitely really important. And also, we just want to make sure that scholars understand that scholars are responsible for securing their travel documents. Okay, so it's not our responsibility to make sure that you have your passport or your visa. We can definitely guide you, and we'd love to help you all through the process, because we know it can be a little bit complex and complicated, but it's definitely your responsibility to secure those documents as the traveler. If you have any questions about what's needed or the requirements to enter the country that you're going to, please visit or contact the embassy or consulate. Okay. Next up is the visa. So for Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, there are different guidelines. So I'm going to talk about that first. For Australia, most international visitors just need an electronic travel authority. And so you can click the link or go to the link that's on the PDF on your student portal, and that will take you to a website in order to purchase your ETA. And it's an electronic version of a visa. There's nothing physical that needs to be attached to your passport like some other visas. It's just electronic, and that comes up when you go through customs, and you should be all set. There's a small fee for that, but it's pretty simple. Definitely check the embassy or consulate in your home country to make sure you know whether you need an additional paper visa or not. For New Zealand, some countries are exempt from having a visa. That includes the USA. So if you're a US citizen and passport holder, you will not need a visa to travel to New Zealand. There's one caveat. If you're on the New Zealand program and you are enrolled in the cultural extension to Sydney, Australia, you will need an ETA to also get into Australia. So please make sure you're diligent about that as well. Lastly, for South Africa, again, many countries are exempt from a visa to travel to South Africa, including the US, but definitely, I can't stress this enough, just make sure you contact the consulate or embassy in your home country to make sure. Lastly, for China, all international visitors require a visa. And I'm gonna hop on the webcam again because I really want to help explain this process, because it can get a little bit complex. So once you have your passport, please complete of course, the passport details entry form, which is already due, so we should have everyone's. And then we need you to complete the visa details entry form as well. So completing these two forms will then automatically submit your request for an invitation letter for tourists. What is this letter? This is one part of your visa application. Okay? So in addition to sending your passport, a passport size photo of yourself, an itinerary of your flight, you also need this invitation letter for tourists, and our partners in China are going to create that letter for you. They create each individual letter for each person. So please make sure that you fill out these forms so we can get you your invitation letter for tourists. One important thing to call out, this letter is not your visa, okay? They are two separate things. It's just going to be one part of the list of things that is needed in your visa application. So once you have everything for your visa application, please submit that as soon as possible. And then you can use our service provider that we prefer, which is called Passport Visas Express, and they will help you with the process again. But make sure that you're going on the student portal, you're reading the passport and visa guide, and you're looking through the instructions and guidelines on completing your visa application, because it's going to explain everything. So it does take time. Please make time for it, okay? Grab a cup of coffee and just sit back and read through it all. Once you have your letter, once you submit your visa application, and then they send your passport back to you with a physical visa. This time they're going to give you a physical visa on your passport. Please add your visa number into myscholarlaureate.org. This has to be done by May 3rd, okay? Then also, if you're enrolled in the cultural extension, which is in Hong Kong, some countries are exempt from needing a visa to get into Hong Kong. But again, make sure that your home country is one of those that are exempt, or if you're not sure, again, call the embassy or consulate in your home country. One important thing to call out is that when you request your invitation letter for tourists, not all of those requests are approved. So please get in that request as soon as possible so that we can talk to our partners in China and make sure and see whether you are approved or not. Again, time is of the essence, and we want to make sure that you have enough time just in case there are any delays or you need to take any additional steps. Okay. All right, now we get to move on to getting a little bit closer to your trip, which is booking your transportation. So it's very important for us to know what your transportation details are, right? So that means that you need to complete the travel information form, flight details, that is on your student portal, okay? So you're going to have to purchase your flight tickets to your host country. That's not included in the program tuition. And when you do that, enter in your arrival date, your arrival time, your departure dates, your departure time into the travel information form, no later than April 28th. So what this helps us do is if you purchase the shuttle, the airport shuttle for arrivals or departures, then we know what time to expect you. Also, we want to know what time everyone is coming in so that we can know how many people we should expect to greet at the airport, okay? So if you can always book your flight on your own. If you want to work with the travel agency, our preferred travel agency is World Tech, and we have those phone numbers down below. Again, this information is in your myscholarlaureate.org student portal. Next up, another important part of your travel and booking your flights are the airport arrival and departure windows. So on myscholarlaureate.org, you want to look at the program and travel information document, and that's going to tell you what times you should arrive in between and what times you should arrive or depart. That's very important just because that means that's when our staff is going to be available. And also, if you are a shuttle rider, that's when we provide the shuttle. If you book outside of those windows, then you will be responsible for arranging your own travel transportation to and from the airport. Again, take a look at program and travel information for the windows, and then let us know when you're arriving, and we'll be there to greet you. And I mentioned this earlier, we do provide a service where we can have our staff hop on the shuttle and bring ISLP students and scholars to the hotel or from the hotel to the airport. It's $35 each way, so $70 round trip. That is US dollar amount. So pay in advance. You call the Office of Admissions. You can add it as an add-on on your student portal. And again, it only operates during the travel windows. It's not mandatory. So you can arrange your own travel on your own. Once you Google the first hotel that we're in, and you can see about how long would it take me and things like that. Because it's possible that we will wait until we have a certain group of students before we head to the hotel. So if you don't want to have to worry about waiting for other students to arrive and you just want to head straight to the hotel on your own, then you can, of course, do that. All right, so now you have had, you have your passport, you have your visa, you're ready, you have your flights, very important, and you know what time you're arriving and everything. So what can you expect when you're actually about to touch down in your destination country? Well, first you're going to have to go through immigration And that really is the entry point into the country. So you will need to fill out some entry documentation. There's a form that they will most airlines provide this form to you on the airplane before you land. So when you receive those documents, okay, make sure you fill them out before you turn on a movie. Make sure you fill them out before you take your nap, so that you can have them ready. I usually just slip mine into my passport because immigration is going to look at that form along with your passport at the same time. So it's a simple form, and so just make sure you have it completed. Right? And so you show your forms and your documentation to immigration, and then your next step is customs. So customs wants to know, what are you bringing into the country? There are some restricted items, and they are very strict. So don't have any perishable items or beverages or anything that could be seen as questionable. You just want to make sure that you're bringing the essentials and what you need. Again, that information on what to bring we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's definitely on your myscholarlaureate.org. Okay, so you've gone through immigration, you've gone through customs. These are long lines. Okay, so get ready for that. You've had a long flight. You have to wake up, follow all of those signs and long hallways, and then you get into another long line to go through immigration and customs. After that, that's when you should make your way to the International Arrivals Hall to meet up with our ISLP group. If you don't need to meet with us and you want to head straight to maybe the taxi stand or the rideshare stand, by all means you can do that as well. But make sure you head to the International Arrivals Hall. I do want to call out for China. There are 2 International Arrivals Halls and 2 separate terminals. You want to go to Terminal 3. Okay? We will send out more information for you prior to your arrival day, but just make sure that you remember Terminal 3, okay, if you're in China. Everyone else, just meet us at the International Arrivals Hall. And we will have an ISLP staff member there to greet during the designated travel windows with some signage and a lanyard and a name badge. Again, if you are wondering about that travel window, it is in your program and travel information document on the student portal. Excellent. If you took the shuttle, you'll hop on the shuttle with us and head to the hotel. If you arrange your own transportation, you can say bye to the shuttle group and make your way on your own to the hotel. Right, if you run in on arrival day, or as you're leaving your home country, and you run into any issues, please call the arrival day helpline. It's +1 703 584 9359. Okay, so that is if you run into any issues on arrival days. That's late flights, your flight got rerouted, or your flight is delayed. If anything changes with your arrival time, do let us know. Okay, please call that phone number. All right, so now you're probably wondering, okay, I'm ready to actually make it through and make it to my country. What should I be packing? What are some travel tips? Those are excellent questions, and I am excited to go through them with you. So let's jump in. First, packing tips. We have a guide for you about packing tips as well. So please go to your myscholarlaureate.org student portal and open up that what to bring document. And we are going to tell you and stress to you to pack lightly and leave room. You should leave I like to leave a nice enough space for gifts and souvenirs. Okay. I know myself. I like to shop when I'm abroad because there are certain things that I'm just not going to find in my home country. So, and I love to shower people with gifts. So I leave enough room, maybe about a third. But if you have to sit on your suitcase to close it, that means you do not have enough room. Okay, so try and move out certain things. Maybe you don't need 3 pairs of the same type of shoe, or maybe you don't need 7 different jackets. So just be mindful of that and read that document. Also, something very important, please, please, please check the luggage requirements for your flights, for the airlines, every airline that you will take. So that means your flight to your host country, You want to check if you're flying, you know, American, United, Lufthansa, whichever one you're taking, make sure you know what those dimensions and the weight are. And on your draft program schedule that we'll send out about a week before your arrival day, there will also be the flight, the airlines there as well. So you want to go to their webpage and see what are the requirements. We also put just some standard requirements in the what to bring document, but that is really important. They're very strict about that. And I know sometimes, you know, our luggage may be a little bit bigger than what other countries are used to. So please make sure that you're packing smart, and because they will charge you a fee if your bag is overweight. They will charge you a fee, and it could be anywhere from $50 to $100 USD. So if you don't want to, you know, use up your souvenir money, please make sure that you are checking your luggage requirements. Also bring layers for changing weather. So, you know, sometimes it may be colder at night than it is during the day, or indoors the AC may be blasting, but outside it's really hot. You want to make sure you bring layers. And pack comfortable, sturdy shoes, because there will be a lot of walking. And you want to leave your expensive jewelry at home or anything that's flashy, but please be sure to bring your prescription medication and your over-the-counter medication. There's detailed information about that in your what to bring document, as well as in your packing checklist. Okay. So most of you have a lot of questions about dress and what to wear. You will find out what you need in the draft schedule. So you'll go to myscholarlaureate.org, click on that draft schedule, and also the final schedule. You want to double check and come back about a week out and check out the final schedule, and you'll see every day it'll tell you what is the dress code for that day. So the first day is usually casual because that's your arrival day, you're coming in and you're traveling, so we just keep that casual. But every other day after, it could be anywhere from professional to relaxed professional to casual. So that way you know, okay, I need, you know, 4 casual outfits, I need 2 professional outfits, and I need, you know, maybe 1 relaxed professional or business casual. So we have the guidelines on what that actually means and the types of clothes those titles relate to in our what to bring document as well. All right, some travel tips. We'll start first with the cultural aspect. So 1, you're gonna have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, okay? So how I like to describe it is, you know, when you have group travel, when you're in another person's, you know, home country, there is a sense of control that you're giving up. You know, with every decision, with group travel, 2 out of the 3 meals every day, just about is planned for you, right? So that may be uncomfortable for some of you who are foodies and you are very particular about what you like to eat. Same thing, everything's on a schedule, and we're very strict about the schedule. So that's another piece of your control pie that may be taken. So just be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And then learn as much as you can before you come about your host culture, so your destination culture. Keep an open mind. Remember that different isn't right or wrong, it's just different, and it may be more familiar to you or less familiar to you. But just keep an open mind and do not isolate yourself, okay? Sometimes, you know, if you've heard of the culture shock concept, you know, there's that honeymoon phase where you're so excited to come to the country and then it kind of dips off. If you're experiencing that, don't isolate yourself. Ask for support. Talk to your colleagues. Talk to your advisor. Talk to the travel managers. You know, and just make sure that you really know a lot before you come. And then when you do and things are different, just ask questions in a respectful way. Here are some resources that are very well-known resources for international travel. And also stay up to date on the news and current events. Next up, communication. So you want to make sure that your family and your friends at home know how and how often they're going to communicate with you, okay? You want to let, if you have, you know, family that wants to know your every move, let them know, hey, I may not be able to contact you every day, or we may not be able to talk 3 times a day like we usually do. And Wi-Fi may not be available in every place that we go. Say, for example, the Great Wall. right? So you may not be able to post photos of you right away, and so they may need to be comfortable with that as well. And so when it comes to your cell phones, you may want to consider adding international calling to your plan. You can also, sometimes there's pay-as-you-go phones, or you can get a local SIM card. Again, research those items that are specific to your country. And always be sure your phone is charged as well, okay? Very important. So for resources for Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, there are different apps for communication that you could use. Skype, of course, email, Google Chat, FaceTime, WhatsApp. Just set up an account so your friends and family know how to contact you. I believe WhatsApp is really popular right now, but if you want to, have a video option too, sometimes people like Skype. And then just keep in mind as well that Wi-Fi availability. In the hotel, it's available, but it may not be available everywhere you go. For China specifically, it's very important to note that access to Facebook or Google or Gmail or similar sites are restricted. Okay, so if you want to access those sites, say you're still taking courses at your university or college and you have a group project and you need to send emails with your team using Gmail, you want to make sure you look into downloading a secure VPN so that you can access those sites. Research that as well. And then another important thing that people don't realize is that Google Play Store and Apple Play Store does not work in China. So you want to make sure if you want to download an app, do it before you come to China. So if you want a VPN on your phone so that you can have Skype on your phone or use Skype on your phone, then you need to download the VPN app before you come to China. WeChat is a very popular mode of communication in China. I highly recommend everyone downloads that. That's going to be the way that when you meet locals or you meet someone you want to continue to develop a relationship with and network with, they're going to ask you what your WeChat ID is. And so that's just going to be a very simple way to use a QR reader and to connect with you. So next up, travel tips for the airport. So keep in mind that what's on your ticket must match the information on your passport. Exactly. No differences. That's why we stress that when you enter in your passport information on the student portal as well, make sure that it's exactly as it is on your passport, okay? There can be issues when you get to the airport and it doesn't match up. Also, be aware of the security regulations that are specific both to the country that you're leaving and the country that you're arriving in. And it may be multiple countries, depending on if you're taking a cultural extension as well. So, there's all different kinds of security regulations. Some use pat downs, some look in your luggage. You may have to take off your shoes, your belts, and different things like that. But just be mindful that it's going to look different and you want to know what that is so that you're not surprised when you arrive at the airport. And please arrive at the airport early. Don't cut it close, okay? Even if you think, oh, I'll be all right, I checked in, I'm feeling confident. No. First, look at the regulations for your airlines and what their recommendation is. And then also just give yourself that grace period because security lines may be long. And you want to, as you're at the airport, continue to monitor those screens just in case there are gate changes. Make sure you don't fall asleep and miss your flight. That happens too. And you want to keep all of your important documents on your person. So, your passport, your gate ticket, all of that you need to keep on your person. All right, let's talk money. First, the important thing is you want to understand the exchange rate, right? So say, for example, I'm from Canada, we use the Canadian dollar, then I want to know how much my money is worth, say, if I'm traveling to Australia and using the Australian dollar there. So make sure you know that conversion rate so that you can prepare when you're in country. Also, debit and credit cards, very important. Okay, I hope everyone's listening. So keep in mind that you need to alert your bank and your credit card company. Hey, I'm traveling outside of the country. Look at your itinerary. So that your flight that you're coming to the country in, and then also all of the different cities you're traveling to. Tell them, you know, if I start in Chicago, I'm heading to LAX, then I head to Sydney, then I head to Brisbane, and I'm ending in Cairns. On my way back, I have to fly through Texas and then back to Chicago. So keep all of that in mind so that you don't run into issues where they reject your card, and you know that your balance is more than enough to purchase whatever it is you're purchasing. Also, if you use the ATM in other countries, there may be withdrawal fees, so just make sure you're knowledgeable about the other fees and talk to, you know, your credit card company. Also, we provide the phone numbers for our staff in country, so always keep those on you as well. And you want to know the international phone number for the credit card company. Okay. And China does not use credit cards frequently, so you want to make sure. Some countries are more a cash-based society, or they actually use WeChat to purchase things, but you want to make sure that you have multiple forms of payment. Okay, don't just use one form of payment and think you'll be okay because that's what you're used to. Have multiple forms so that you're prepared in any situation. Also, for cash, convert some currency before you fly. Okay, you want to land in the country that you're traveling to and know that you have some currency. For example, if you need to, you know, purchase something in the airport, or if you need to, say you want to take a taxi on your first day, if you have self-arranged transportation. And then bring some to convert when you're there. So don't convert all of your money at home, just convert some of it to get you by maybe for the first day or two, and then convert some of it once you're in the country. And you can do that at the airport or the hotel or a bank. So try not to carry too much cash at any one time, okay? All right, so guys, we talked a lot about preparing for ISLP and all of the tips while you're in country. Let's talk a little bit more about what it's going to be like on the program. So for hotels, the accommodations do vary by country and by delegation, but they are equivalent to a US 3.5 star property. And so you will find the list of your hotels on the travel information document on your myscholarlaureate.org student portal. Take a look at those. You can Google them, look at their website, check out some of their rooms. All of our hotels, of course, we will house students, one same gender roommate. So everyone will have a roommate. If you are interested in a single room, it just depends on availability, but that is something that you will need to purchase as an extra. So you can contact our Office of Admissions. And then for meals will be local style meals and cuisine. So about 2 out of the 3 meals per day are provided by the program. There's 1 meal where it will be on your own. And so again, on that final schedule, you could take a look and see, okay, how many meals on my own do I have to account for in my budget? And what meals are those? Are they traditionally dinners? Are they lunches? Every day, breakfast will provide for you, so you don't have to worry about that. But one important thing is we need to know if you have any special dietary needs, so do submit that online as well on the student information form. About the third page in is the dietary needs page. That's where you can let us know what specific needs you have. And one important thing to call out is, say for example, you practice a kosher diet. Please let us know if you're strict kosher or if not, because sometimes our students, put certain types of diets that they follow, and then when we get in country, they say, oh no, don't worry about it, and we've already prepared kosher meals for the student. And so we just want to make sure that we're accommodating the students that we need and that everyone feels comfortable. So let us know if you practice a certain diet or if you have any other types of needs or accommodations, and that would be great. If you have anything that's pretty strict, or if it's airborne, please give us a call so that we can flag that too. Also, for your meals on your own, take a look, again, like I mentioned, at the schedule to see which meals are on your own. And then also, if you are wondering about how much does it cost, how much does each meal cost, take a look at your what to bring document. We have estimates for different meals in the local currency. All right, so now let's talk a little bit more about some of the schedule highlights. So for China, we're going to the European Union Chamber of Commerce for the business group. Engineering is going to a very advanced engineering company called BEO. The scholars last year were excited about that. And then we also are going to Guangamen Hospital, and then the diplomacy group, we're going to embassies, and we will hear from a speaker from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And then for Australia, the Business and Entrepreneurship Group will go to a lot of different entrepreneurial institutions. One of them is the Wade Institute. The Nursing and Healthcare Group, you guys are going to the Royal Flying Doctor Service. I'm just highlighting one of the many different site visits you're going to. And that's a pretty cool organization. You can look that up on your own as well, just to get an idea about it. And then the Medicine and Science Group, we go to the Peter MacCallum Cancer Center. For New Zealand, we'll visit Invert Robotics, SIP Technologies, and you guys will learn about project management. And that's one interesting but very necessary component to engineering and technology. South Africa, our groups will go to a youth center called the Elton John Masibambisane Youth Center. And then the Nursing and Healthcare, you guys will go to Hillcrest AIDS Center Trust. So these are just some of our highlights in the schedule that we're excited for you guys to experience. So in addition to your site visits, your cultural site visits, and your professional site visits, you also have 5 team breakout sessions. So what are these? Each delegation, you may have several groups within a delegation, and each group is led by your advisor. And so that advisor is that career professional who's kind of like your group leader for the program. And so in these team breakout sessions, which could be anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours, you are collaborating with your peers on your ISLP project, you're briefing and debriefing your experiences, and you're also discussing your career skills. So you'll learn a little bit more about your career path, or you'll hear from your advisor about their career path and how it, may be similar or different from what you had in mind and what the career looked like. And then you'll explore your own cultural competence and kind of have some tools to help you communicate in a cross-cultural environment. Then a highlight of the ISLP curriculum is your ISLP project. So you'll identify an issue in your career within a small group of about maybe 3 to 5 people of your colleagues, other scholars, and then you'll draft a proposal on how to solve that issue, and you'll present it in front of your colleagues and the other scholars there. Your advisor will also be there to watch your presentations. And so that's very important that you complete the academic preparation, the pre-program assignments that are coming soon to your student portal. So stay on the lookout for that and read. We'll have some articles about your country, about your field, and then one that's going to present a more current event in your field. And so that's really going to help you with the brainstorming session that's going to happen in country on the issue in your career. So you want to come prepared for an issue you may want to kind of solve in your career in that country. Okay, so we'll provide reading to help you there. All right, so you've heard me mention the cultural extensions a couple of times. And what this is if you want to stay a little bit longer, in your host country, or maybe travel to a nearby country, you can do so. So if you're on the New Zealand Engineering and Technology group, you all will go to the Sydney, Australia. And so that's 3 nights and 4 days in Sydney, and you can tour the Opera House, visit the rocks, and do all kinds of exciting things. And the cost is down there for you. If you're in any of the Australia delegations, so medicine and business or nursing, you all will go to Cairns and get to snorkel in the Great Barrier Reef, get to check out some of the beaches. And then if you're heading to any of the South Africa delegations, you all will have an exciting time at Kruger National Park and go on game drives, a guided open vehicle game drive. You can take pictures and just really relax at the gates of the park. So the hotel is right outside the park. So it's really a cool experience. So keep in mind, if you're on the cultural extension, you will need to make sure that your flight leaving the country is from the cultural extension city. Okay, and definitely check out those departure windows, what time to leave. And if you're in the China delegations, you'll want to, you'll be heading to Hong Kong. So you get to explore the islands, beaches, take a railway trip to the top of Victoria Peak, enjoy a nice little cruise to the fishing village, which is really interesting to see. And of course, there's plenty of shopping to be done. So if you like to shop, this is the place for you. All right, so now you kind of have a good idea on what needs to be done to prepare, what it looks like when you arrive, how to navigate the differences that international travel comes with. I just want to finish up with a few important reminders. Remember, you're responsible for securing your passport and visa. Passport information is past due. If you haven't turned it in, most of you we've been in contact with, but do let us know. If not, if you enrolled maybe a little bit later than the rest of us, keep that in mind. And then for China delegations, please start your visa application and ensure that you give us your visa number. Again, late submissions or incorrect information. So maybe you transpose a letter in your last name, or you forget to put your middle name because it's on your passport. It does incur additional fees because that means that we need to reorder another ticket because remember, what's on the ticket has to match what's on your passport. Also, if you submit anything late, it can affect your hotel accommodations, your access to site visits, and your in-country travel. We book our in-country travel and site visits as a group, and so if we don't have your information at that time, there's a point to where we will submit the group's information without yours, and it may mean that you may be separated from the group. So we want to make sure we have everyone's information. Of course, we'll have staff members with everyone at all times during the program events, but it really is very important for everyone to turn in their information on time. And then for your transportation, take a look at those travel windows when you're booking your flights. If you want transportation, you just want a stressless way to get to the hotel, please purchase that shuttle option and then tell us when you're coming and when you're leaving by submitting your travel information on your student portal. And of course, we want to know about you. So when you enrolled, you should have already submitted your student information form. So we want to know if you have any dietary restrictions or any important medical information. So just let us know if there's any conditions we should be aware of. Because we want to make sure that we can accommodate you and make you comfortable in country. And we also need important information like your major as well and your name so that we can book access to these site visits. Some we have very secure site visits and we cannot book it if we don't have your major, for example, or what country you're from, or your passport information. It's very important. So we want to make sure everybody has an amazing experience, and we need you to be diligent in that as well. Right, so now for our next steps, what are a couple things that you need to do after this webinar, hopefully? One is to print your pre-departure checklist. Go there, it will have a list of things you should be doing, and it is organized by time. So what are things you should be doing a month out? What are things you should be doing 2 weeks out? Make sure you're going through that and you're being diligent. You should read everything on this page and complete everything that says required by the deadlines, but that pre-departure checklist is really going to be helpful for you. Then read, research, do everything you need just to make sure that you know what to expect. You won't know everything, but just prepare yourself well as well. Complete all the required forms. Make sure you have your passport and your visa if needed. Book your flights to and from your host country. Add all of those details on myscholarlaureate.org. If you want the shuttle option, purchase that. Again, USD $70 round trip. And then don't forget to pack light, okay? Remember, if you have to sit on your suitcase, you pack too much, okay? Make sure there's some room in there to bring back things. All right, and then ultimately just be ready to have a great time, an adventure of a lifetime in country. Now, I'll open it up for any questions that we may have from the audience. I have a great question about bringing food, and that one of our scholars thought that they could bring protein bars. So when I was talking about customs and not bringing in perishable items, so perishable means, you know, anything that can go bad. So say, for example, fruit and vegetables. That is usually on the list of things that may have some restrictions. Sorry about the echo. Great. So yes, make sure those items aren't perishable. So a way to look at it, you can research what items you shouldn't be bringing in, but definitely you want to bring snacks, especially if you have a dietary need that you know that even in your home country, it's a challenge to find certain meals that will accommodate your needs. If that's the case, definitely bring in some snacks like protein bars, but you want to make sure they're in wrappers. They're not like fruit or vegetables. But if you have any questions about that, you know, feel free to give our Office of Admissions a call. And then I have another question about medical supplies, something that would be a problem with customs. Again, I would definitely research this. If you have a very particular medical supply, you want to just check the embassy webpage online of your host country to see if they're on. Also check with your airlines as well. So I know some airlines are very familiar with medical supplies, but you want to make sure you're checking all the airlines. If there is anything that you still can't find information about, please give us a call and let us know. All right, so with the shuttle service to and from the airport, do you need to pay for the shuttle service if you need to fly for the program extension? So I'll just re-explain kind of how the shuttle service works. If you're not taking the program extension, you're just, say for example, this is South Africa, and you're going from Johannesburg to Durban, and you're leaving Durban and you're going back to your home country. If you purchase the round trip shuttle service, there will be a shuttle to greet you at the airport in Johannesburg and bring you to the hotel in Johannesburg. And there will be a shuttle that will take you from the hotel in Durban to the airport in Durban. If you enroll in the program extension at Kruger National Park, then you order the round trip shuttle service there, you will have a shuttle that will meet you at the airport in Johannesburg, bring you to the hotel in Johannesburg. Then for Kruger National Park, when you leave, we'll go back to Johannesburg. We'll leave the park and go back to Johannesburg, and there will be a shuttle that'll take you to the airport in Johannesburg. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. And then, do you have access to a laundry room in the hotel? This is an excellent question. especially for programs that are a little bit longer, like our China program, all hotels are different. So there may be laundry service. Most hotels do have laundry service though, but of course that's at a fee. So if you're interested in that, having professional laundry service, then take a look at the hotel website to see if that is offered or not. Also, you may want to, one thing that I like to do, and everyone doesn't like to do this, if I'm going to be staying in a long place in somewhere and I have a shirt I know I'm going to be wearing a lot, just because maybe it's my favorite, then I will just bring a dry, it's a bar of laundry soap that you can find at the store. And I typically, just hand wash it myself. If you want to do more than that, then of course look on the hotel website and see kind of the rates too. You can call them and ask the rates for the laundry service. All right, so will we find out how many others are attending and from which countries before we get there? And we typically don't post this information because we do like to keep our student information secure. But you will receive an email from your advisor, and your advisor will ask you if you're okay with sharing your email address with other scholars. And if that's the case, then you can learn more about the other scholars that way. Yes, you will know which airlines you are taking when you are in country. So the question was, do we know which airlines we will be taking when moving around the country so you can plan your luggage? Yes. On that final schedule, there will be the airlines, and so you can research the luggage requirements for that. Also, there was a question about the availability of the webinar. So say if you have to head out early or not, we will post this webinar to the student portal. So you will be able to access it there as well. Yes, so the optional free time activities will be an extra cost. So for example, in any country, there are different agencies who offer, travel, tours for all kinds of tourists that come into the country. What our partners in Australia will do is say, hey, you don't have to research this yourself. Here are the options. Here's a description of the options. Here's about how much it costs. And they will provide transportation. If it's during a mealtime, sometimes the meal is included as well in that cost. So we'll provide all that information to you, but it's basically, if you don't have time or you don't want to plan your own free time activities, then we have 4 cost options for you. And that will be available. It should be available. I'll have to double check, but I don't want to misquote you, but check again on your student portal in about 2 weeks. And if not, just continue to check regularly. All right, I'm taking a look at some more questions. Information about the travel insurance that you purchased. That information is on the student portal as well. So you'll be able to take a look at that. It should be under your policies, under the policies category, if I'm not mistaken. But I can follow up with you on that as well. It's a great question. I'm arriving in China a few hours earlier than the shuttle time window. Am I able to wait and catch the ISLP shuttle at the time the window begins? So this is a great question about the arrival window. So if you arrive before the window, yes, you can wait. It's not guaranteed that that shuttle will leave at the start of the shuttle window. So say your window is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 10 a.m. I'm trying to remember China's, but let's just use an example, a hypothetical example. Say it's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you arrive at 7 a.m. in the morning, the shuttle may not leave till 10 a.m. So don't assume that it's going to leave at that 9 a.m. mark. It is based on what we try and do is group our student or scholars into flight time. So say we have 3 flights arriving maybe 40 minutes apart. Once we have that full shuttle of scholars, then we will leave, but it just varies on the different scholar arrival times. Okay. This is a great question as well about taking classes in the summer. And so they'll need to have internet connection and access to the email. How can you do that in China? And so I talked a little bit about in the communication section about access to email in China. So you'll definitely want to look into a VPN and how to download one on your laptop if you're bringing that, or download one on your phone. And also to request the letter for the invitation letter for tourists, all you need to do is complete the passport details entry form and the visa details entry form on the student portal. Complete those two forms and that's your request. We'll take it from there, and then we'll send you an email when your invitation letter for tourists is available, and you go back to the student portal and you download it. All right, we have time for a few more questions. So, do you advise additional immunizations? When you say additional, I'm going to take a guess that you mean in addition to what you've already researched on, say, the State Department's travel advisories. That's up to you. I cannot recommend, as a citizen, I do not want to recommend different immunizations just because that is related to medical concerns, and I'm not allowed to give that type of advice. But I would definitely research and then talk to your doctor. Again, it does depend on the specific person as well. They may be on medication that doesn't, react well with certain things. So I would just do your research on the travel websites and then also talk to your doctor. All right. Could you provide the number to call if running into any late arrivals again? That phone number is also on your program and travel information document, which is on your student portal. So it is available. That's the same document that lists all of the hotels for the different cities that you'll be in. You mentioned there may be immigration forms to fill out in arriving. Where do we get those? Again, they'll be in the airlines. 90% of airlines will give you those forms before you land. They'll give them to you on the plane. I'm not sure at what point during your flight. Some of them give them to you in the beginning of the flight, some of them at the end of the flight. But there usually are forms available in the immigration hall as well. Before you get in line, there should be an area, and most likely will not have a writing utensil, so make sure you have one if you don't get one from the airline. You can book, there's a question on whether you need to use WorldTech or can you book it yourselves. You can definitely book your flights on your own. If you want the added convenience of having a travel agent kind of tell you the best flights for the best prices and say, hey, these are my requirements. I want extra leg room. I want a nonstop flight. I want to use United because I have miles with them. But on the way back, I want to have a stop in, say, Madrid. They'll be able to do that, and that's just an added convenience for you there. But there is a fee with that as well, with any travel agency. And also, so you know, the questions just come to us, my team, so no one else is able to see your questions. Okay, this is a great question. Very savvy traveler is arriving in Beijing a day before the program starts and has booked their own hotel room for that extra night in Beijing. And so they're wondering, should they go to the airport or to meet the group, or is there another way they can meet the rest of the delegation? So I recommend you can ask the people at the hotel, your first hotel, what's the best way to get to the program hotel. So depending if you're already in downtown Beijing and it's far away from the airport, it might just be a better bet if you meet us at our hotel. And you can find the hotel address and the hotel phone number on your student portal documents. Give them a call and say, hey, I'm coming from this hotel. What's the best way to get to and from? Definitely plan that out before you get there. But it sounds like you're doing a great job already. How long does it usually take for the China visa process? It really depends on the person, and it depends on how the application is filled out. So I can't give a standard answer, but we do set our deadlines to give you enough time to get through that process. There are some cases where things are delayed for one reason or another that's outside of our control. So you definitely are responsible for the time it takes as well, so start early. All right, so we are at 8 o'clock, and so I want to just honor the time of our participants. So I will conclude our webinar. Here you can see the important email addresses and phone numbers for our admissions team and the website. Hop onto Facebook and you can go to our Scholar Laureate program page, and that's usually how our scholars communicate before the program. And then you can check us out on Instagram as well as Twitter, and look for us in Scholar Laureate. So thank you everyone again for attending the webinar. Once the webinar ends, there will be a survey, a very short survey for you to take. So we would appreciate if you take that. And then again, the webinar will be available on your student portal. Okay, thank you everyone, and we look forward to creating a great experience for you.